Hello, I'm Blake Johnson. This is 7's 4:30 News live from Perth. Coming up, questions over Schapelle Corby's parole after her boyfriend's arrested in Bali. Southwest WA flooded, Perth drenched 3 days before spring. And Perth's camera protesters gain momentum and stay anonymous.
Why won't you take off your mask?
Those stories shortly, but first, an Albany man has been spared jail, instead fined, after becoming the first Australian taken to court for possession of Nembutal powder, a euthanasia drug. Rob Scott has been in court. Rob, how did Rupert Ward react?
Blake, the 68-year-old, was extremely relieved. He received a $1,400 fine for possessing that Nembutal, which he ordered online from China. He was also given a spent conviction, and it was that spent conviction for which he was most grateful, because he says without it, he may not be able to travel to the United States, where he wants his body to be cryogenically frozen so that he can be woken up in the future where medical science has evolved. But the irony in all this is that Mr. Ward isn't sick. In fact, he's fit and healthy and says he only ordered the Nembutal in case he became unwell.
I wouldn't want to end up in that position, so I decided, as you said, as a contingency plan, to buy the Nembutal. I thought it was sort of zero chance of having any, having the police find out about it.
Rupert Ward says he's learnt his lesson and won't be ordering any more Nembutal, but he has already placed an order for a so-called suicide kit from Dr. Philip Nitschke, a kit which uses nitrogen gas to help someone end their life. And he says that Dr. Nitschke has also offered to pay his $1,400 fine. Blake?
Rob Scott in Albany, thank you. International legal experts claim Schapelle Corby's freedom could be on the line after reports her boyfriend was arrested in Bali on drugs charges. Police say Ben Panangian was caught with 2 packages of marijuana and more was found when his home was raided.
It immediately will cast a shadow over whether she's complying with her parole conditions.
Schapelle Corby was released on parole in February after 9 years behind bars. Perth has been spared the worst, but the southwest copped a battering from this morning's storm. Donnybrook was left partly flooded and one man trapped in the flood waters. Kate Smithers reports.
Blake, the cold front hit the southwest of our state from about 6 o'clock this morning. The Weather Bureau described it as a slow-moving system, but it consistently dumped rain across Perth and the southwest for much of today and will up until midnight tonight. The Weather Bureau says it's likely to be winter's last large amount of rainfall before spring on Monday. Donnybrook in the southwest received more than 100 millimetres of rain. Have a look at these pictures of flooding outside a man's house. He tried to drive his ute across the driveway bridge but got stuck in the water, had to get back to his house, and now he and his family are stuck inside. The Preston River also got close to bursting its banks. It received about a metre of rain just this morning. In Perth, we were less impacted than that. The highest rainfall was at Jandakot, just over 27 millimetres. The city fared pretty well, 6.4 millimetres. Over the weekend, we can expect a few more showers before the skies clear up on Monday. Blake.
The Attorney-General has met with Islamic leaders as the federal government makes the case for action on the Islamic State extremists in Iraq. US President Barack Obama today vowed IS can be defeated with the help of America's allies.
160 barefoot soldiers march across a desert in the Syrian province of Raqqa. Dressed only in underwear, they walk in line with hands on heads in surrender. They're escorted by jihadist gunmen chanting Islamic State forever. These troops are marching to their death. The next video is too graphic to show. It's the latest in a series of shocking images and backs up UN claims that public executions, amputations and mock crucifixions are now regular in jihadist-controlled areas of Syria.
Over the past 6 months, the plight of people in Syria has not been reduced, but has deepened.
It also increases pressure on the US to extend airstrikes from northern Iraq into its war-torn neighbour.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse. We don't have a strategy yet.
The President will send Secretary of State John Kerry to the Middle East in an effort to build a regional coalition, but he hasn't ruled out calling in help from elsewhere.
There may be a role for an international coalition providing additional air support.
Prime Minister Tony Abbott says we still haven't been officially asked for military assistance, but if and when we are, the government will weigh up the risks and objectives before agreeing to take part.
We're not the most powerful country on earth, but we're not the least powerful country either.
A contribution of Super Hornet fighter jets is being considered.
It's not inevitable, and we certainly won't be railroaded into anything.
But the prospect of doing nothing doesn't look likely either. Amelia Brace, 7 News.
A manhunt has been launched after a teenager was attacked in Carnarvon. This is a computer image of the man's description. Police say he was driving a white panel van and grabbed a 17-year-old girl. When she refused to give him her mobile phone, she was indecently assaulted. Anyone who recognises the man or his distinctive tattoo should call Crime Stoppers. Perth's speed camera protesters are gaining momentum, with more masked activists appearing as far away as Busselton. But road safety experts say they've missed the point. Samantha Jolly reports.
Blake, revenue raiser resistance has certainly gained a lot of attention here in Perth, but also around the country. This photo is from Busselton, where the movement has now spread. Revenue raiser resistance urges protesters to hold up signs like these and alert drivers about speed cameras. The university student behind the movement doesn't want to be identified. He says he isn't against speed cameras, but believes motorists should be adequately warned. Now, can I ask you, why won't you take off your mask?
Because the mask is, it's not about me. I don't want people to know who I am. Not because I'm scared or anything. It's just that I don't want people to follow me. I want them to follow the movement.
Now, the Office of Road Safety says speed cameras save lives, and motorists are already warned because the daily list is posted on the WA Police website.
Speed cameras slow people down and it reduces the amount of people that are dying on our roads.
And Blake, I'll have more on the reaction this movement has caused in our news tonight at 6.
Perth's public transport system isn't as popular as previous years. The opposition says a fall in passenger numbers is the result of overcrowded trains. But the Public Transport Authority says the family budget is being stretched by other demands. Tracy Moran reports.
The number of people catching trains across the city has dropped by almost 2 million. Now, all train lines were affected, but the biggest drops in usage were on the Fremantle and Armidale lines. While train travel has fallen, there is a slight increase in the number of people taking buses. Farer use has fallen to an 11-year low. The Public Transport Authority blames family finances, saying people are spending less of their disposable income on public transport. It also says CBD office vacancy has fallen and less people are travelling to the city for work. Now, the opposition blames overcrowding, fare rises and a lack of infrastructure in burgeoning suburbs.
Especially peak hours, it's always packed.
I feel the convenience of coming in and out of the city by vehicle is actually better.
It's disappointing that more people don't use it. We've been adding more trains into the mix, so capacity is not a problem. I know that people will argue there because no one likes being crowded at peak, but the fact of it is, if our trains aren't crowded at peak, we've spent too much taxpayer dollars on buying trains.
These figures were recorded during Perth's biggest ever rail shutdown, and it's believed that may have had some impact on these numbers, Blake.
A knife-point robbery in Balcatta. I'll have those details next. Plus, delicate rescue. A humpback whale tangled in rope off Geraldton. Let's take a look at Perth's roads now in Traffic Watch. If you're headed home tonight, here's the Kwinana Freeway at the junction of Mill Point Road. Traffic starting to build. On the Mitchell Freeway at Ocean Reef Road, things are also starting to slow down, and the wet weather has created a bit of a crawl approaching the Graham Farmer Freeway on Loftus Street. Remember to take care and turn your lights on in the rain. Staff were threatened with a knife when a Balcatta bottle shop was robbed last night. It happened about 7:45 on Main Street. Police are reviewing security video and say staff did the right thing handing over cash. The thief then ran off. He's described as about 165 centimetres tall with a large build. Google is developing a system of unmanned drones to revolutionise delivery services around the world. The prototype, which has been tested on a Queensland property, could transport items from groceries to life-saving medicines.
Project Wing has been a secret for 2 years, but Google researchers have lifted the lid on their self-flying vehicle, which they've been testing at a farm on Queensland's Darling Downs.
This is Neil Parfitt at Barmax Homestead. Could I order some dog food for my dogs, please?
The unmanned device was launched about 800 metres away and programmed to deliver packages from 30 metres above the ground. Neil Parfitt is the first person in the world to receive a delivery from a Google drone.
Hopefully it'll change the way that we think about moving things around the world.
The drones would be able to carry items up to 2 kilograms and could prove life-saving during natural disasters.
We can get medicines, we can get food distributed. So I think just from a humanitarian point of view, there's enormous benefits. From a commercial point of view, then we could look at freeing up a lot of the road space.
It's hoped people will eventually be able to order items on their mobiles and have them delivered within 30 minutes. GPS technology on the phones will tell the drones where to deliver the parcels.
Technologies like these really do have the potential to revolutionise how retailers operate and how they can better service their customers.
Shopping retailer Amazon is developing similar technology, but it and Google still have plenty of work to do. Safety is the top priority. In Australia, drones must legally be flown within line of sight and 30 metres away from people and property.
A couple of years away, but I think it's probably going to come sooner than what people might think.
Emily Fardoulis, 7 News.
A police car has been rammed and 2 officers injured as they chased thieves in the state's north. Noel Brunning has details from the GWN 7 News desk.
Thanks, Blake. It happened after a violent home invasion in Nickel just before 3 this morning. Police arrived as the offenders were stealing a couple's car. The driver rammed the police car twice before speeding off. One of the officers hurt his leg, the other has injured his neck and back. An 8-metre humpback whale tangled in fishing nets off the coast of Geraldton has been freed. The rescue crew says it appears to be swimming strongly. And classmates and teachers of an Albany boy who's battling cancer have taken their support to a whole new level by all shaving their heads. 13-year-old David Gangel was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma earlier this year. His sister was diagnosed with the same cancer a month earlier. Doctors say the cancer is rare and the fact that siblings have it is almost unheard of. Back to you, Blake.
Thanks, Noel. Next, a former Prime Minister's personal records revealed and book ban. Why a popular children's novel has been pulled off top shelves.
Now, Fuel Watch, Perth's petrol prices, brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
Time to check the financial markets now. The Australian share market closed flat with the big supermarket owners weighing down the market as the earnings season winds up. The ASX 200 and All Ords both remained in the green. $1 Australian dollar buys 93 US cents and 10,949 Indonesian rupiah. Prime Minister John Howard's personal records have been made available to researchers in Canberra, covering more than 3 decades. They include his time as Prime Minister, Treasurer and Opposition Leader. The collection is valued at over $1 million and can be viewed in the newly dedicated John Howard Reading Room.
I hope will make a contribution to an understanding of my time in various positions, the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the victories and defeats.
On this occasion, the words of Winston Churchill ring true. Study history, study history. In history lies the secrets of statecraft. And as John Howard himself loves to say, in order to know where you're going, you need to know where you came from.
The release marks the 40th anniversary of Mr Howard's election to federal parliament. A popular children's book has been banned by Aldi supermarkets because of its use of a certain word. The decision has sparked claims the company is prudish, but in case you are offended, a warning to cover your children's ears. Damien Smith's report does include the word.
The big controversy over this little book centres around Cinderella. Now, in his satirical poem on the fairy tale, Roald Dahl uses a certain four-letter word to describe the heroine. Now, a neighbour of someone who'd bought Revolting Rhymes from Aldi posted on Facebook that the word was unacceptable for kids. The retailer released a statement saying it had pulled the book following comments by a limited number of concerned customers. Now, there has been an extraordinary backlash against Aldi's decision, with some people pledging to boycott the store until the book returns to its shelves. Now, we asked the editor of the Macquarie Dictionary whether the use of the word was inappropriate at all.
It has this basic meaning of a dirty, untidy woman. The prince, from his lofty height and social status, could look down on Cinderella because she appeared in rags and covered in cinders. It's well known according to the story. So in that sense, she was quite definitely a dirty slut.
We visited one bookshop today that says it sells dozens of these books to primary schools all around New South Wales. Now, it says it has ordered in more because once a book gets banned, everyone wants it. Back to you.
Now with a look at what's coming up on Today Tonight, here's Monica Koss.
Thanks, Blake. Tonight, the Perth community fighting to keep their local fruit and veg shop. The greengrocers is being forced out to make way for a liquor store giant, but angry locals are taking up the fight in what's become a David and Goliath battle.
The whole community, we are prepared to fight back.
After his very public battle with Parkinson's, radio personality Howard Sattler has revealed his family is facing another struggle, with wife Despine opening up about her own battle with depression and why she wants to help others.
I think we should just normalise depression, make it something that is just one of those things.
Plus, the musical tribute to Vietnam, songs that defined a generation. That's Today Tonight at 6:30. For now, Blake, it is back to you.
Thanks, Mon. Sports next with Adrian Barrage, and I'll have the weekend weather forecast. Seven's 4:30 news now with a look at the news and sport. Here's Barra.
The West Coast Eagles have, thank you, Blake. The West Coast Eagles have made 4 changes for Sunday's do-or-die clash with the Suns. Scott Selwood, Nick Natanui, Elliot Yeo and Blaine Wilson come in for Mark Hutchings, Dean Cox, Mitch Brown and Dom Sheed. The Dockers have a top 4 showdown against Port Adelaide tomorrow at Patterson Stadium, with Michael Barlow set to play with a broken thumb. Skipper Matthew Pavlich also included despite a sore quad muscle. The Power confident of a good showing against Freo.
We understand that playing over in Perth is certainly one of the toughest trips you can go on at the moment, but it's one that we've still got enough confidence about going over there and saying that we can actually go hard against them and give ourselves a great chance.
Aussie tennis star Nick Kyrgios has powered into round 3 of the US Open. Sam Stosur and WA's Matthew Ebden were knocked out, while our own Casey Dellacqua kept her campaign on track. Kyrgios had his full range of power shots on display in a straight sets win over Italian Andreas Seppi. The 19-year-old hurt his knee in a fall, but it was only a brief setback. Kyrgios closed out the match with his 22nd ace. He now plays Spanish veteran Tommy Robredo.
Having some exciting rallies with him. I'm just going to be the one that's going to be dictating play as much as possible, playing aggressive, and I'm going to be ready for Robredo.
Stosur, the 2011 champion, blew 2 match points in her defeat. And Spanish sensation Marc Marquez has gone to extraordinary lengths to promote this weekend's British MotoGP. Part James Bond, part Superman, Marquez used a London cab to change out of his dinner suit and into his racing gear. He then took his Honda for a spin across the Millennium Bridge. More sport at 6. I can see you doing that, Blakey.
Yep, might need the bike first. Thanks, Barra. A cold front is giving the southwest corner of the state lots of rain today. The city's had 8 millimetres so far. Carnet more than 28. Here's the interstate forecast for tomorrow. A foggy start in Melbourne, but clearing after that. Showers in Sydney and the Cairns, but all other major centres should be fine. For Perth, the worst of the weather should be done by about 2 a.m. We might see a possible storm tonight, although it looks a bit unlikely. Tomorrow the rain should ease a bit, but showers will push through into Sunday, clearing on Monday. And that's all from the 4:30 news team. We'll be back with Sue for the 6 o'clock news. Stay with us now for Deal or No Deal.